A handful of people control a disproportionately large percentage of the world's power. Whether they are political figures or business moguls, these individuals can restructure the lives of millions with a single decision. Of course, these figures inevitably make numerous enemies and require a veritable arsenal to keep them safe. From tech titans to repressive presidents, we are looking at the 10 most protected people in the world. Security arrangements at Prince Harry and Meghan's new home could cost up to $654 million, sources close to the couple report. They settled on Frogmore Cottage, an abode about 45 minutes outside of London. It is located in Windsor, Berkshire, and is near the famous Windsor Castle. According to royal expert Katie Nicholl, the place is basically like a fortress. Vanity Fair has also reported that security at Frogmore Cottage is Fort Knox style, with high-tech cameras and sensors around the perimeter. Those who have been in the area said that drones are banned from being flown near the home. Police flight safety notice. Drones prohibited in this area, a sign reads. Launching, landing, or operating drones or remote-controlled aircraft is prohibited in this area. This is in addition to a security force with more than 1,000 highly trained soldiers dedicated to the safety of the young couple. In February 1998, Bill Gates was already a household name, and his company Microsoft was proving to be the single most successful software company in the world. However, this same month, a team of pranksters attacked Bill Gates in Brussels, Belgium, and threw cream pies at his head. Though the prank was innocent enough, it shook Gates to his core. If the attack had been more insidious, he easily could have been dead. After this, he built a new office with bulletproof walls and windows. Suddenly, employees needed a security clearance just to meet with their executive. After the dot-com bubble burst, Gates received numerous death threats from former employees whom Microsoft was forced to lay off. It is unclear if the increase in security came from Gates or from the Microsoft board, but it is obvious that his brilliance has been instrumental in the success of the company, and they couldn't afford to lose him. Prominent Silicon Valley companies spend liberally to protect their intellectual property. Some also shell out considerable amounts to protect their executives. Apple's most recent proxy statement shows the company spent $310,000 on personal security for CEO Tim Cook. But that's a fraction of other tech giants' expenditures. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg was the costliest executive to protect. Facebook spent $7.3 million on his security in 2017, and last summer the company told investors that it anticipated spending $20 million annually. This has ballooned since 2013, when Zuckerberg's security detail cost $2.6 million. In a statement, Facebook said, "We believe that Mr. Zuckerberg's role puts him in a unique position. He is synonymous with Facebook, and as a result, negative sentiment regarding our company is directly associated with and often transferred to Mr. Zuckerberg." Armed executive protection officers stand on constant guard outside Zuckerberg's gated homes in the Bay Area, at least one of which also features a panic room. If he goes to a bar, his team will first sweep through to make sure it's safe. They will vet any new doctors, and they will assess his instructors if he wants to take up a new hobby. He is driven everywhere, with the security team monitoring traffic and adjusting his route accordingly. Xi Jinping, the president of China, is another controversial and powerful head of state. The Central Security Bureau remains secretive, and little is known about its internal functions. However, the team is allegedly 5,000 people strong and uses a network of helicopters, drones, and armed guards to secure locations days in advance of Jinping's arrival. Because China puts a huge emphasis on cybersecurity, the Central Security Bureau has a separate team to deal with any perceived online threat. However, in the past, the CSB has been used directly against the Chinese head of state. Apparently, in the 1970s, many of its highest-ranking officers planned a failed coup against then-leader Mao Zedong. Though the coup was quashed, people still question the loyalty of this semi-autonomous organization. When the unit was first formed, it had high requirements for enlistment. Any candidates must be a junior high school graduate, a requirement that does not appear to be much today, but it was considered tough back in the early 1950s, when over half of the Chinese population was illiterate. The unit was prohibited from participating in any public parade, with only a single exception. After the arrest of the Gang of Four, a huge celebration was held in October 1976 in Beijing, and the unit was granted permission to participate in this single public event. Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, wields huge political and economic power in the world. Through the state-owned oil company Saudi Aramco, bin Salman and his family are some of the richest people on the planet. And since his alleged involvement in the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, the Crown Prince has made some international enemies. Since coming to power in 2017, he has consolidated the power of his military personnel, combining Saudi Arabia's military and security agencies. He has a 1,000-person strong security team that includes traditional soldiers soldiers and a cybersecurity team. And he announced that 800 new officer appointments are planned by the end of 2019. Bin Salman has already spent more than $20 billion on military equipment in the last 2 years. How he plans to use this technology is another question entirely. Part of being royal involves regular interactions with the public and remaining as accessible as possible. But security can be a big issue, especially in today's world. How do members of the royal family continue to do their jobs without putting themselves at risk? The answer is that they have an enormous team of security that try to remain entirely invisible at public events. One is called the Queen's Guard, and they are tasked with caring for Queen Elizabeth specifically. The 93-year-old monarch has a special role as a figurehead of her country, and her safety is paramount. In combination with the Scotland Yard, the Queen's Guard screens each building that she enters, and always has a carefully calculated escape plan in place to keep her out of harm's way. In addition to bodyguards and chauffeured cars, the royal family always travels with a motorcade or police escort, even to Prince George's school. This helps clear the road, as well as providing protection for members of the royal family. Because of the decorum surrounding the Catholic Church's ceremonies, most of the Pope's security team are dressed like they're about to attend a Renaissance fair. But the truth is they are a high-end military force made up of top ex-Swiss soldiers. Referred to as the Swiss Guard, the group was actually established in 1506 under Pope Julius II. The Pontifical Swiss Guard is among the oldest military units in continuous operation. Recruits to the Guard must be unmarried Swiss Catholic males between 19 and 30 years of age who have completed basic training with the Swiss Armed Forces. And apparently Pope Francis has been a headache for this elite force. Because he is the People's Pope, Francis insists on walking amongst his followers, even though that presents a great threat to his safety. The crowds throw things, says his head of security in an interview. They throw flags, dolls, and obviously babies toward him. It's difficult because we don't want our agents to overreact. He doesn't want to see an overreaction either, but you don't want to miss anything. The order remains very secretive, and it is unclear how many personnel are involved. But one thing is clear, this is not a military force you want to mess with. Kim Jong-un is the president of North Korea and easily one of the most contentious politicians on the globe. His repressive government is renowned as one of the most brutal totalitarian forces in history, and Kim Jong-un is not someone to take lightly. On December 12, 2013, Kim ordered the execution of his uncle for treachery. Kim is widely believed to have ordered the assassination of his half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, in Malaysia in February 2017. The same year, the North Korean government stated that the CIA of the United States and the South Korean National Intelligence Service hired a North Korean lumberjack who worked in Russia to assassinate Kim Jong-un with a biochemical weapon that was both radioactive and nanopoisonous, and whose effect would have been delayed by a few months. Since then, Kim has beefed up his already impressive security squad. His team is comprised of dozens of highly trained martial artists who jog alongside Kim's limo when he travels. One bizarre requirement being they can't be taller than pint-sized Kim, who is about 5 feet 5 inches. The mysterious bunch seems to appear from nowhere every time their leader's limo slows down. They also seem to be able to choreograph themselves so that they always have a 360-degree view around Kim. Whenever Kim travels, he flies with 2 decoy jets, so it's unclear which plane he's actually traveling in. All in all, Kim is said to have 90,000 soldiers at the ready to defend him personally at any moment. Long before Donald Trump was elected president of the United States, he had a substantial security team due to his celebrity status and massive fortune. However you feel about his politics, it is undeniable that Trump has made some enemies, and his safety has never been more jeopardized. Though he is following standard procedure established by previous heads of state, Trump now roams with a veritable army of security personnel, 1,000 people strong. The presidential motorcade includes a quick response team, a sealed cabin, and a unit to respond to nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons. In addition to Air Force One, debatably the most secure aircraft in the world, Trump's armory includes the presidential limousine, nicknamed the Beast, the Marine One helicopter, plus a litany of supporting vehicles and staff. They're all designed to keep the president safe and away from protesters. However, Trump's leisure trips have invoked criticism. His trips to play golf at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida have cost taxpayers just shy of $150 million. While his security is government mandated, he has cost taxpayers more than 3 times the amount as the Obamas for an equivalent period. Trump also spent $16 million on a new state-of-the-art Cadillac CT6 sedan, with everything you'd need to stay alive in the midst of an attack, including bulletproof glass, a supply of the president's blood type, and an independent air supply to thwart a chemical attack. Vladimir Putin worked for many years in Russia's Federal Security Service before climbing the political ladder and becoming president. Putin, of all people, has an appreciation for the necessity of heightened protection. Because he is a man with many enemies, he has beefed up the Presidential Security Service during his time in office. Though the organization is necessarily secretive, Putin employs 2,000 to 3,000 plainclothes officers to guard him at any given time. They secure any buildings that he is scheduled to enter and work around the clock to mitigate any threats to his safety. The unit has armored cars, drones, and even a dedicated psychological security unit that collects intelligence regarding any perceived threat either at home or abroad. And it pays to do well in these positions. Many of Putin's guards have been promoted to prestigious positions in the Kremlin and gained wealth and prosperity. And Putin has gifted many of them prized properties in the most highly sought-after parts of Russia, often turning to bribery, intimidation, and blackmail to scare the current residents out of their homes. Some were decorated World War II veterans whom the Soviet Union had promised lifetime employment and pensions. But in the newly independent Russian Federation, there can be no such guarantees. During the 1990s, these workers say, a small clique of powerful businessmen and criminals used manipulation, forgery, intimidation, and even beatings to seize their land. Needless to say, Putin is a very well-protected man.